Hi, Adam. How are
Hey,
you?
Nicole. Good. How are you?
Good, good. So one of my questions was, you have produced so many educational series. One of our favorites being Wall Exam.
Oh, good. Thank you.
And one of the things I was curious of is what inclined you to kind of produce Go Dog Go, because it's a staple in so many households as a book. Even in our household, we love the book. And so I was curious kind of what inspired you to take it on and say, like, we're going to develop this into another educational, inspiring show for families.
Oh, well, thank you for the kind words on past shows. I know the people over at DreamWorks, and they had reached out to me a couple years ago with this book property, and of course, it's a book that I remember loving when I was younger, and just working in kid stuff. It's a book that just comes up all the time. People always reference it as this. I think it's like the "Do you like my hat" thing I've heard mentioned on a couple of other shows. Like, how can we do something like fun and weird and surprising like that? So, and I also like dogs, but I think I was most drawn to two things about the book. One, that it has a very specific tone. It's this sort of delightful, like seemingly kind of random. You don't really understand why all these things are in the same space. Like, why is there a dog party in a tree and a hedge maze and a why is she asking about a hat? So I like the kind of incongruity of those things, and that was an interesting challenge to create a cohesive world that could pull all those things together. But I also think so that was a tone that drew me to it. But I also think the fact that the book doesn't really have a linear story and doesn't really have characters with names, it left it pretty wide open to invent and to play within the tone that's already there, but also create something new. As you mentioned, I've created other shows kind of from scratch, so there's a little bit of that blank slate that was fun to play with.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about tag a lot, and so I was just curious as to what inspired you to want to make the main character a girl. Because in the book it doesn't really, we can't really see who the main character is and all that. But I was curious, kind of what inspired
Yeah.
that.
I'd say there were two probably prompts for that. One, I knew that I wanted this character to be into fixing and building vehicles and race cars, and I feel like we've seen that character as a boy a lot. So I wanted to model those traits for a girl. And then the other thing is, quite simply, I have a young daughter. I think when I started thinking about this show, she was a year old, and now she's 3. And I figured, hey, she could use more heroes, more girls to look up to. So it felt right to me for the show.
Thanks, Adam. So I was curious because when you start developing the concept and the storyline for a show, sometimes you have in mind kind of what you want the casting to look like. And so I was curious as to, when you were developing the show, did you already have in mind kind of like who you wanted for these voiceovers, or was it something that you were like, now we're gonna, find them out later, and this is, what we want? So I was just curious about that process.
Yeah, no, I didn't have specific people in mind or highly specific voices in mind. I think the goal was to write the characters as clear on the page as possible, and then there's that fun process of going out and hearing auditions, and we heard just a lot. And what part of the joy of doing this show is that it's a real blending of kid voices and adult voices. So we've gotten to work with these great kids, but we've also gotten to work with these funny and versatile voice actors. So it's without having any specific person in mind, there was this fun process of, you kind of have a voice in your mind, in your head, but you don't want to over prescribe that in case somebody brings in something really surprising, and then just seeing what comes in for auditions. And we were just so pleased. We ended up with such a great cast. With I feel like who's talking with your eyes closed, which is, I think, important in a kids animated show, so that all the characters really feel very distinctive.
So I guess I would want to know, Adam, what would be one thing that you would want families to take away from the series if you had to choose one?
Yeah, I hope. I guess I would want families to take away just maybe the experience of watching it. I think a lot of kid shows are very successful when they kind of just hit that preschool or just at that preschool level. But then there's other shows, there's room for shows, I think, that families can watch together. So I hope that kids and families can enjoy the show together. It's something that as we've introduced television to my daughter, I realize we like watching it with her. We don't use TV as much as a babysitter as we do to as something to kind of enjoy together. And in the same way that for generations now, I guess kids have enjoyed this book with their parents. That would be my number one hope, that kids and parents can enjoy it together. And then I guess secondarily that they take something away from the positive community aspects of the show. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have a 5 and an 8-year-old. My mother-in-law just moved in with us. She's 80. And this book, which was written in 1961, we've all kind of had, input with, right? We've all experienced it and everything. And so it's just kind of cool to kind of experience it all multi-generational, and be
Yeah.
like, hey, I remember reading that, and now it's on TV and now my kids can enjoy it. So I definitely think you guys did a great job with it.
So that's good to hear. Well, thank you so much.